Hello everyone, my name is Bonnie and welcome back to my channel. So today I will be sharing all of the books that I gave 5 out of 5 stars in 2021. There's a decent amount of them. I don't have a physical copy of them all, but it's been a really good reading year. I think this year I've given the most 5 stars out of any years, so I'm just very excited to be chatting about these. So the first book I will discuss is one that I do not have a physical copy of, but I will have to solve that issue at some point down the line. But I gave a 5 out of 5 stars to Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. I listened to the audiobook of this, and I believe it was narrated by the author himself, and it was just amazing. It was so captivating, super quick audiobook. I think it was only like a few hours long, but it was so moving and felt so personal and grounded in reality that would just like tear at your heartstrings, but like also just lifts your spirits so much. It kind of explores the young life into young adulthood. A young boy who is just realizing like societal standards and expectations and how that can be really hard on a gay boy, and so it's like the struggles in his youth of being drawn to like Barbie dolls and like pinks and just like girlish things, and then later on when he gets older he learns more about the LGBT community and particularly is drawn to drag. So it's just so uplifting and lovely. The audiobook made me cry, but it was just super sweet, and I highly recommend that audiobook. It was just so emotionally moving for just the short time it is, but it was amazing. 5 out of 5 stars. I'm even getting emotional like thinking back about it. But yeah, so that one is a big treat. The next one I have to discuss, I only have the first volume to show, but that is the Fence graphic novel series. I read all of the volumes that are currently out, so I'll include those on the screen because I cannot recall how many volumes they were. I read them quite back to back to back, or as soon as I could get my hands on them, and I just loved this so freaking much. This is a graphic novel series that follows a group of boys at this boarding school that are part of the fencing team, and just, you know, a variety of characters and their different dynamics and working towards becoming a team and being there for each other. It is so heartwarming but also funny at times, and there are I would say four prevalent characters but 2 main characters. This is Seiji, who is the fence prodigy there, who is like extremely strict in his regimen, very set in his ways. He knows how to win, and yeah, he's like the crowd jewel of the fencing school. And then there's also Nicholas, who is a scholarship student who has kind of a natural inkling for fencing, but he isn't as prim and polished. He hasn't really had the traditional training that Seiji and many of the other boys have had. So Nicholas and Seiji kind of get off on the wrong foot, and Nicholas is like, this is my rival, I will destroy him, and they end up becoming roommates and eventually friends and that kind of stuff, and it's just so freaking cute. There are Harvard and Aiden as well that are some older boys that are also roommates, but like they're in love. They're in love, but like they don't talk about it. But yeah, so super found family, friendship, but also competition and LGBT moments, and I devoured all of these volumes. They are all 5 stars. I eat them up. I eat them up. I will say that this graphic novel series is really great to binge back to back because they are kind of leading up to certain competition moments, and then there is kind of like an overarching plot as well of Nicholas's family's backstory. So yeah, I just adored this. I did not expect to love a sports graphic novel as much as I did, but thinking about it now, I freaking adore the Olympics so much, so I really shouldn't be surprised anymore when sports stories like get to me. But this one did, and you know, don't be intimidated by the fact that it is about fencing. They really like break it down, make it super easy to understand. I definitely learned aspects of fencing from this, not from the Olympics. It was like I read all these, and then it just so happened to be an Olympics year, so I could watch more fencing then. I'm like, oh yes, the saber, the FA, like, you learn terms in here that are relevant to fencing, but you don't have to have, like, all the grand backstory, all the rules. You don't need that. But yeah, so super adored these, and I cannot wait for the next volume to come out in 2022. I pre-ordered that shit so fucking fast when I saw it was announced. But yeah, so I love these to death, and I need to get my hands on the other volumes for my own personal collection. And then kind of continuing along those lines, I do have Fence Disarmed, which is the kind of novelization side stories written by Rees Brennan that are based off of the C.S. Pacat graphic novels. And as you can tell, this is not sagey. This is Aiden and Harvard, who I mentioned previously, that are in love. They're in love, but like, they've been best friends for forever, so it's a lot of pining. This is book 2 of the novelizations. The first one is Fence Striking the Distance, which I also super loved, but this one hit me in the feels so much more. Oh my gosh. So although this has Aiden and Harvard on the cover, you still follow all 4 of the characters, and like they even have little art for whose ever perspective it is following in the chapter, and I loved this so much. I mean, like, literary wise, it's not the greatest literature of all time. Like, it's not something we will study for ages. It's nothing like that, but I just had to give it 5 out of 5 stars for how obsessed I was with this. I wanted to keep reading. I wanted to know what happens next. It made me like just so giddy for these characters, but also so stressed and emotional when things aren't working out. And then, I don't know, I loved this. I didn't expect much from these novelizations because, you know, graphic novel, you're used to the comic version of these characters and everything. But I think Rees Brennan really translates their characters like perfectly. They feel so in character, and like the setting feels correct. It's just great. And this one's fun too because they take a fencing trip to France, so it's just a fun time. I loved it. I love the fence words so much. I hope they keep giving me content forever. A book that ended up being my final 5-star read and a surprise was the Soul Eater Volume 1 manga. I got this for Christmas, so I did not expect to be reading this for 2021, but I did, and it was super fun. I love the Soul Eater anime, so it was just super fun to see it recreated, or in its original form, as the manga. And you know, it's a good time. It's got like funny moments, intense moments, and I just really love these characters. It also has Halloween vibes, but eventually developed its own story going on. This is following our two main characters, Manga and Soul. Manga is a Meister who wields weapons and can fight with the weapon and kind of uses her soul as a power as well. And then there are the weapons, who are actually people that can turn into weapons, and that is the other main character, Soul. And they team up together to fight baddies out in the world. And yeah, things just get so intense in this story, and volume 1 just sets it all up. The anime is like a perfect like rendition of this manga, so I was just like living my best life, like reliving this story once again, and yeah, it was great. So 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I have to discuss is Summer of Salt by Katrina, Leno, and boy, I did not see this one coming. This is pretty much a contemporary, but with just a little bit of magic going on. It is set on an island, and there's a bird that everyone is like obsessed with, so there's like a big tourist boom that comes in every summer to see this bird, and our character and her sister are, they kind of work at this inn that always has all these tourists coming into in the summer, so it's kind of the story of that and what happens when the bird does not show up when it's supposed to. So it's weird, it's kind of kooky, but then there's also like a mystery going on and some heavy hitting moments. And yeah, there's magic at play, but it's more of like a whimsy magic. It's not like super logical based magic. It's a vibe that's happening. And our main character is sapphic, so like there's a cute romance happening there, and then heavy stuff happens with her sister, so like be warned that this isn't all cute and cozy. I know the original cover is way like lighter cast and like pinker, so it just looks like a happy contemporary, but it is not. So I mean, one, I like the cover change, but I feel like the cover change better conveys the kind of ominous tone, or undertone I should say, since there are darker elements at play. But I read this for Becca's book Apolython, and I was obsessed. It was so good. I cried. 5 out of 5 stars. Like, it was also beautifully written. I definitely need to reread this at some point, because it was so amazingly done. I think it's only 256 pages, so like, holy cow, can Katrina Leno write. Another book I have to discuss I also read during Becca's Bookathon, and that is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal El-Mohtar. This is a sci-fi that was like taken booktube by storm at like, I would say end of 2020 and beginning portion of 2021. This is a very complex sci-fi, although again a very short one, and it has to do with time travel and a war that's going on. There are the Reds and the Blues, and they are fighting each other across time, and so we follow the two spies, Red and Blue, and they kind of are leaving messages across time to each other that start kind of hostile, because they're enemies, but then they start having an affection for one another, and it's touching but confusing and complex, and I loved it. I was so captivated and just wanted to keep reading. The next one I have to discuss is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I actually read this twice this year. I read it for the first time in this physical version, and then I re-listened to it via audiobook for prep of the sequel coming out, and both times this story is just 5 out of 5 stars. The audiobook is super great, so if you are big on the audiobooks, definitely recommend that one. Search it out, find it, enjoy it. But this is a Romeo and Juliet reimagining set in 1920s Shanghai between two rival gangs, the Scarlet Gang and the White Flowers, and Romeo and Juliet is part of the Scarlet Gang, and Roma is part of the White Flowers. So you have the warring families, but as gangs, and just other city drama things going on. There is a monster that is affecting both of the gangs, so Roma and Juliet have to team up, and yeah, so like shit happens from there. I love the characters Chloe Gong creates, the yearning, but also the I'm gonna kill you, but I secretly love you. Like, it's just so good, and just it's a great time. Although like I do think this has some flaws, like the monster I could care less about. But the world, the gang dynamics, the character tension and web of complexities among them, they just feel so real, and I'm so devoted to them. Just, it has to be 5 stars just for how it makes me feel. It just has to be. So the book that I think is my absolute favorite of the year, at least currently, we'll see if things change when I'm reflecting back on this year down the line, but currently my heart absolutely goes to The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I did not expect to love this as much as I did. I was completely captivated, totally invested, and just like on the edge of my seat for such a large chunk of this. It just made me feel so many things, and it's under 300 pages. So once again, a great book that packs a punch with not that many pages. So this is very much like a historical period drama piece, but there is a little bit of magic in it via telekinetic powers that 2 of our characters have. There are 3 prevalent characters that thus kind of create this complex web of relationships and feelings towards each other. There is our main character Nina, who is kind of a naive country girl who has come to participate in the grand season, which is essentially just like the ball season where you go to attend parties, all about interacting with the proper people in order to essentially make a good match, find a husband, that sort of thing. So Nina kind of gets roped into coming to the grand season, but she is still very set in her ways of kind of, you know, expressing her independence, her thoughts and desires, and one of those things is that she has some telekinetic powers, although not perfected at all. And then there is Hector, who is kind of a standoffish man, but he is very well known for having telekinetic powers to the extent that he's even a performer. And then there is Valerie, who is kind of the like epitome of the perfect woman for the grand season, and so she kind of tries to make a perfect lady out of Nina, although in a rather cruel way. She doesn't really have affection for Nina. She just feels like Nina keeps like embarrassing her, that sort of thing. So there's that complexity of like societal standards, and then there's also the relationship complexities. This book covers so much about love. There is innocent love that is so giving and so pure, while there's can also be infatuation and like possession and just, I don't know, there's beautiful moments, and then there's moments you just feel so angry. Like there are so many times that Valerie just made me so freaking mad, but at the same time, she's so self-aware that it's like, can you even be mad at her? Because she's like she's just doing what she's doing, and she's aware of her decisions. So there's that, and just there's also just like Nina is drawn to Hector because of like their telekinetic powers, and Hector has a secret past with Valerie, but you know, with Nina's naivete but also independent thinking, he starts to get drawn to Nina. So there's like that complexities, and just so much happens. You are there for 2 grand seasons, so there is a part 1 and a part 2, but it feels like you are in it so much longer. Silvia Moreno-Garcia just does settings so freaking well. You just feel so rooted in it. I absolutely loved this. I was so attached to what was gonna happen, and like literally how it ended, just like 2 little tears came out of my eyes. It was just so beautifully crafted, beautifully well done, and I definitely look forward to rereading this sometime, hopefully soon. So these are all of the books I gave 5 stars in 2021, plus the other Fence volumes and Black Flamingo. Just all of these I totally recommend. They are also enchanting and captivating, and just, I don't know, all of these are such fantastic characters and plots. I love it. I love it. But yeah, I would love to know if you have read any of these, or what your thoughts are, or if not, I would love to know what your top reads were of 2021. I'm just so happy I managed to read so many delightful things this year, and I'm hoping 2022 will be very similar. So thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I hope to see you back for the next one. Bye.